Hello and welcome to the Joe DeLisi Financial Advisor Podcast. Today we are going to discuss something that is constant. I don't think ever will really go away, but it's something we have to battle back and push back on a lot. And what it is the media and others trying to scare us into thinking that everything's going to collapse and everything's horrible and you shouldn't invest and they know better and listen to them and blah, blah, blah. So, here it comes. They're gonna try to scare you. It's 2024. It's an election year. It's inflation. It's stagflation. It's this. It's that. It's whatever. There's always going to be a reason. But before we get into that, please do me a favor. Click to subscribe to the podcast. It helps us, see who's tuning in, how many people are downloading what episodes, and really helps me figure out what you like to listen to. At the end of this, in the show notes, please grab a second, take a look in there, and it's going to give you a link, if you're new to me, where you can go to our website. You can fill out a quick little, brief idea of who you are and if you'd like some help, and if so, how to get in touch with us. So let's get into this. I was flying on a plane the other day, and I was actually listening to a couple in front of me, and they were discussing. It was a husband and wife, and they were discussing their finances, and I couldn't get really the overall idea, but I sort of had an idea of the fact that they were really nervous. And, these weren't retirees. These were people probably my age, about 50 years old or so. And she just kept saying, like, I don't know, so-and-so is saying this, and they're really smart. And she was talking about a friend of hers. The husband, to his credit, I think he was trying to say, look, we don't know, nobody really knows. And maybe they do know something and maybe they don't, meaning his friends. But he was trying to reassure her, like, it's going to be okay. Things are going to be okay. And I'm not picking on her at all. I mean, I totally understand this. There's this almost groupthink, just generally speaking. I call it that, the way I put it is investors are never happy. And what I mean by that is that if the market is low, if we're in a bad environment and the market is losing money, of course, nobody's happy about that. But when the markets are soaring and things are really going very well, people get nervous about that too. They're afraid for the other shoe that's going to drop, and they walk around almost like Eeyore, looking for damage, looking for somebody to talk about how it's all going to end, and they got to get out now. And this is really human nature. In fact, it's kind of the way our brains are hardwired. So as we were flying, I just did a quick search, Google search, and I put in, quote, markets going to crash 2024, unquote. And these are some of the top results I get. Number one, will stocks crash in 2024? 6 risk factors. That comes from U.S. News Money, and that was on May 8th. And number 2, Black Swan Hedge Fund. Just that sounds scary to me, even though it's not. It sounds scary. Black Swan Hedge Fund says Fed cuts signal crash. That comes from Reuters, and that was from April 22nd this year. Number 3, is market correction coming? U.S. Bank. That's from May 6th. And this one's my favorite. Number 4, how far could America's stock market fall? That's from The Economist, April 25th. And this goes on. I just don't list them all because as you get further on down the road there's articles written by people I've never heard of, from publications I've never heard of. But, the ones that I just mentioned, and these are well known. U.S. News and Money, Reuters, U.S. Bank, The Economist, these are well-known publications. Doesn't mean they know anything more than I do or you do, but, they're sort of accepted as experts, quote unquote. So look, I know I may sound like a broken record to some of you if you've been clients of mine for really any period of time, but the truth really is that every time I think I've put out enough podcasts or enough blogs or I've had enough meetings with clients to explain that predicting the future is bogus. It's garbage. It's all clickbait. I think I've done a good job of that, and I get people kind of calm down. That's when I get the email. I get an email from somebody, from a client. Happened actually a couple weeks ago, followed up by a phone call, and it's generally somebody sending me a link that a friend forwarded to them, or says maybe they heard someone on the news, or somebody is investing in something, and then they heard that on YouTube or TikTok that everything's going to go to zero. And the links at this point, I don't even want to click on them, but I do because I feel the need. I have to comment and take it seriously because I understand if you don't do this all day long and you see something like that, it can scare you. I mean, look, this is your Your money is basically what you trade your lifeblood for, right? Your time on this earth, you trade that to work, and the work generates money. So it's very serious. And I take it very seriously. Unfortunately, most of the media doesn't. It's a game, to them. It's a game to people who write articles and blogs. It's a game of clickbait. And they know how to get their attention. And I'm not saying any of this to make anybody feel bad. And look, my job is to keep you safe from those people with those predictions. Really, that's my job. We really need to stay vigilant against that noise out there. I will tell you, building portfolios is the quote unquote easy part. It takes a long time to really understand the machinations of really how a portfolio should be built and non-correlated assets and where returns come from and how standard deviation can help us explain risk. I mean, there's a lot of research and a lot of study and a lot of constant ongoing looking at markets that I do. That's a lot of work, but that's the enjoyable work. That's not the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting and really the main job is me keeping you away from making a mistake, bad mistakes. So here's another search I did. And this one I typed in, quote, failed stock market predictions, unquote. And here are the top results for this. 2023, the year of terrible market predictions. That was Forbes, 12/31 of 2023. Number 2, stock market forecasters were wrong again. Barron's, that was January of this year, January 15th. Number 3, Wall Street forecasters won't tell you where stocks are headed. New York Times, that was on December 23rd last year, my birthday. Number 4, Wall Street revamps 2024 S&P 500 targets after record quarter, and that was in March of this year. So here's what I know, and here's what I think you know too. If it bleeds, it leads. That's a media phrase. Now, it's not just true of the headline news, but in every aspect of media, including the financial press. Bad news, we know it. It's statistically proven that it's consumed way more than good news. In my industry, fear and greed are what capture attention. If somebody wants your attention or your money, then they actually need to prey on your fear or your greed. And the fear and greed portion really is the biggest challenge I think I have as an advisor. My job is to help you achieve market returns with as smooth as a ride as possible. And it's got to be in a way that fits in your larger and more long-term plans for retirement and other goals. You are not hiring me to beat the market. And really, what market are we talking about? We've mentioned that before too. If I could consistently beat the market, I wouldn't tell you. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't sell you that information. Nobody would. Because they would just do it for themselves. I would just do it for myself. I would beat the market every year. I would have all the money. All of the money. It would be mine. And listen, no one's going to sell you the information on where to be and how to beat markets and that magic bullet. They're not going to sell that to you for 0.5% or 1% or any amount of money. If anybody could predict the future, again, they would keep that information to themselves. But in lieu of helping you do really long-term planning, which honestly, many advisors, they're not even in the business of doing. I'm not beating them up. It's just not what they're there to do. And none of the media are in the business of doing long-term financial planning for you. So in lieu of that, they need to capture your attention and dollars by suggesting an imminent crash and that they know all about and they're going to save you from. And if that doesn't work, they're going to go the opposite direction and they're going to prey on your greed. And this occurs in the form of telling people that they could be earning much more return if only they held this stock or that market or this dividend fund or, it goes on and on. So right now we're approaching the midway point of 2024. And before you get caught up in any headlines of the Fed and rate cuts or the election or stagflation or recession or anything else, I ask you to pull back, detach a little bit, look at the horrible track record of the fortune tellers, and then consider this. 2024 will not make or break your long-term goals. But if you get caught up in the riptide of trying to time markets or picking stocks, it is very possible you lose the thing you are most concerned about, which is your long-term goals that are really built around the true purpose of your money, which is what? Retirement, college funding, charitable giving, security, safety, inheritance, whatever it is. So I ask you, don't stop sending me the articles. Don't stop asking me to comment on it. Please don't do that. Feel free. Call me, email me, forward me this stuff because, again, I do take this very, very seriously. But also understand as you're listening and you're hearing and you start getting that anxiety that nobody's ever been able to predict where the market's going, not reliably and consistently. It just doesn't exist. And those people who are writing those articles, we don't even know who they are. If you actually spend time and click through and who some of those people are, they have horrible track records. And I can't mention any names, but you know who I'm talking about. They're out there in the financial press. They're the ones who are predicting that, they've predicted the last 23 of the 2 recessions that are out there. It's just, they're Eeyore. They're there to make you miserable. Don't let them. Compliance time. Registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, Pass, OSJ 5280 Carroll Canyon Road, Suite 300, San Diego, California, 92121. 619-684-6400. Securities products and advisory services offered through Pass, member FINRA, SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Pass is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Westpac Wealth Partners, LLC is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Pass or Guardian. Insurance products offered through Westpac Wealth Partners and Insurance Services, LLC, a DBA of Westpac Wealth Partners, LLC. California Insurance license number OD34103. This podcast is for informational purposes only, not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Although the information has been gathered from sources believed to be reliable, please note that the individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Pass, Guardian, or Westpac Wealth, and opinions stated are their own. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. All investments and investment strategies contain risk and may lose value. This material is intended for general use. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities, LLC, and your financial representative are not undertaking to provide investment advice or make a recommendation for a specific individual or situation, or to otherwise act in a fiduciary capacity. 2024-175145 expires May 2026.